Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak Badash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, for teaching this truth according to the Bible. All right. And today, I'm going to get into some prophecies. All right. We're going to get into the prophecies that are going to destroying this place called Babylon the Great, aka the United States of America. All right. So I want to start off with this scripture right here, Jeremiah 28:8, because we're in a time, okay, where history is starting to repeat itself. History, okay, if you know anything about the Bible, scriptures say that history is going to repeat itself. All right, so let me read this, Jeremiah 28 and verse 8, where it says, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war, of evil, and of pestilence." Okay, that's what we come out here to do week in and week out, right? I come out here to prophesy and tell you about the downfall of the United States of America, aka Babylon the Great. And one of the main prophecies that we could go to in the scriptures was, really it's all over the scriptures, but we're going to start right here. All right, we're going to start right here in the book of Isaiah. And I'm going to go to the 24th chapter. Okay, this whole chapter really goes into destruction of the wicked, okay? But you could also go to the Isaiah the 19th chapter. You could also go to Isaiah the 14th chapter, which really goes into us taking custody of our inheritance, right? Goes into us taking vengeance upon our enemies, all right? But all over the scriptures, right? We'll connect them as we go, but I'm going to start right here in Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 1, where it says, "Behold, the Lord Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof." Okay, now what the Lord is going into here is that during World War III, okay, at some particular time, okay, we're going to have an event that's going to take place here on planet Earth, all right? And that's going into these nuclear missiles, these destructions that are about to come to here, Babylon the Great. Let's go to Revelation. We'll connect this. Revelation chapter 18. Okay, also another chapter going into the fall of Babylon the Great, where it says, Revelation 18 and 1, and it says, "After these things I saw another angel come down, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory." Okay, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, "Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and cage of every unclean and hateful bird." Okay, we're talking about the fall of the United States of America. How do we know that the United States of America is going to be destroyed? Okay, according to the scriptures. How do we know that Babylon the Great in the scriptures is talking about the United States of America? Well, if we go to Revelation 17, okay, read the last verse. Okay, I'll actually start at Revelation 17 and 17, and it says, "For Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will," going into these other nations that are getting ready to shoot these intercontinental ballistic missiles over here. All right, and it says, for the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai can be fulfilled. Okay, so now we're talking about NATO, specifically NATO, which is the military alliance of the Edomite nations. All right, if you go into Daniel, okay, the 7th chapter, it goes into all the beasts, and that final beast was the Roman Empire. Right now, as we stand today here in the United States of America, we're standing in the second iteration or the reincarnation of the Roman Empire, Roman Empire 2.0. All right, let me finish this. Verse 18 says, "And the woman, which is that great city," right, Babylon the Great, "and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." Okay, that great city going to a great nation, a country, all right, a powerful nation and a country that would be ruling over the rest of the kings of the earth, aka the world superpower, the world dominating force. All right, now let's go to Google real quick. All right, we're going to go and we're going to Google What is the world's superpower of the last 50 years? What country has been the world superpower in the last 50 years? Okay? And the AI overview says the United States has been the dominant global superpower for the last 50 years. While the term superpower often used, is important to note that some sources also identify the Soviet Union, Russia, which, yeah, the Soviet Union was a superpower at the time that they were existent, but what happened to them? They collapsed in 1991 after the Cold War, okay, when there was supposed to be a treaty between the United States and the Soviet Army, okay? That's when that whole, right after the whole Cuban Missile Crisis was going on, okay? Then the two sides made peace, and what happened? Later on, the Soviet Union collapsed, okay? And that's what started the expansion. That's what really started the expansion of NATO as we know it today, okay? Now let me go to Daniel. I'm gonna go to the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Slacky, y'all, bear with me. We'll go to the book of Daniel. Chapter 2 and verse 1. Okay, because the book of Daniel gives us an overview of all the superpowers that were going to be on the earth. All right? So let's pull that up. Daniel chapter 2. This is the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had of that golden statue that was standing, okay, in his dream. And each section of the statue from the head to the feet was of a different compound, a different metal, starting with the head of gold. Okay, and it says, this is Daniel chapter 2 and verse slack, y'all, bear with me while I find it. Okay, this is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 30, and it says, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me of any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for the sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, behold, a great image. All right, now we're looking at this image, this statue that Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about, okay, and it's going to give us a timeline. This statue is representative of the timeline between the Babylonian captivity and the time of today, the feet of iron and clay. And let's go through it. It says, thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was exalted, was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breasts and his arms of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass. Okay, let's start with the head right there. What is that head talking about? That head was talking about the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay, that was the kingdom that came into Judea and removed the Israelites, okay, the southern kingdom of the Israelites, because the northern kingdom hadn't been there in a long time, because the northern kingdom went into slavery first under the Assyrian Empire. All right, now it was the time for the southern kingdom to go into slavery, right? And so this is what we're talking about right here. And now, O king, sawest, behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, representing the Babylonian Empire. His breasts and his arms of silver. Okay, that silver represents the Medo-Persian Empire. All right. His belly and his thighs of brass. His legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. So when we're talking about this, the feet, which represents the end of a thing, or the bottom, all right, the last result, right? We're standing in this timeline right now in the feet of iron and clay, all right? And what is that feat of iron and clay? Remember, all these alloys, all these metals represent an empire that would rule on the planet Earth. All right, now we go back to Revelation chapter 17. All right, we go back to Revelation chapter 17, and it tells us, verse 18, and it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And the point I bring out Daniel chapter 2 is to once again extrapolate on the point that the world's superpower in the last days is the United States of America, which means that the United States of America has to be Babylon the Great. All right. And now if we identify Babylon the Great, now we can identify the rest of the prophecies in the scriptures. We can identify who the Israelites are. Okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, according to the seed line of your father, you are the Israelites of the Bible, all right? Now let me go to Isaiah. We'll prove it. We'll go to Isaiah chapter 47. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 47, okay? And I'll start from the top, and it says, the word of the Lord Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith the Lord, behold, waters rise up out of the north, and it shall be overflowing the flood, and the land overflow the land that is therein, and the city, and them that dwell therein, and the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl. A noise of the stamping of the hooves, and of his strong horses, and a rumbling in his wheels, and the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands. Okay, let me skip down to the point. Oh, Slacky, I was reading Jeremiah. Let me go to Isaiah. I was wondering why it didn't sound right. This is Isaiah, okay? Isaiah chapter 47. Yep, and it says, verse 1, it says, come down and sit in the dust. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Now notice how he says virgin daughter of Babylon. This is how you know we're not talking about the Neo-Babylonian Empire, because this is the daughter of Babylon. This is a descendant or the kingdom that would come after, right? So now we're not talking about the head of gold, the Neo-Babylonian Empire that the Israelites, mainly the southern tribes, okay, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi went into captivity to. We're talking about the daughter of Babylon, the great whore that sitteth upon the beast, okay? And it says, sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, okay? Daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans was a particular sect, okay, a political sect of the Assyrian empire that broke off of the Assyrian empire and started their own empire, okay, and called it Babylon. And the leader of that empire was called Nebuchadnezzar, all right? So now we know who we're talking about, okay? And today, these modern day Chaldeans would be your senators, right? Your politicians, your presidents, okay? The elites of Esau, Edom running this place in the United States of America, all right? And it says, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, because the United States has been that tender and delicate, okay? The United States has been that country that has been a golden city in the Lord's hand, or a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Now let me look this scripture up, because it's a supporting scripture that says that Babylon has been a golden cup, okay? This is Jeremiah 51:7. Okay, and it says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hands, the Lord Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations, okay, the other nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. Right, remember I read in Revelation 17 that it said that this, okay, we'll read it again. Remember in Revelation 17, it says this. Revelation 17:18, and it says, and the woman, remember, daughter of the Chaldees, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, okay, Babylon the Great, which reigneth over the kings of the earth, right? So now we know who we're talking about. We know that the United States is Babylon the Great. But unfortunately, for 2/3 of our people, they're not going to come to the understanding. They're not going to come to the knowledge of the truth of who they really are. But let's identify something very specific that the prophet Isaiah prophesied about Babylon the Great. Isaiah 47:2, and it says, take the millstones and grind mill, uncover the locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, and pass over the rivers. Meaning Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed and taken down so low, it's going to be like a peasant woman. Okay, it was a comely, beautiful, beautiful looking woman on the outside, and the Lord is telling her that he's going to make her a desolate peasant girl. All right, let's go to the next verse, and it says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man, because when Yahweh Shai comes back, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, he's going to not come back as a man. He already came as a man the first time. He came as a lamb, a sacrificial lamb for the nation of Israel, right? But this second time that he's returning, he's not coming back as a man. So what is he coming back as? He's coming back as a power, an Elohim, a God, okay? Back into his original estate, which he had in the first place, all right? It says, as for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh Shai of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. We can now harpen on the point that Israel is the people of the Lord. Israel is the focus of this book. The nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, okay, along with you speckled birds, who your father's seed line goes back to those people, all right, even though you may look like the other nations. All right, let's keep reading. It says, I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. For as for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai of hosts is his name. And it says, the Holy One of Israel, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Right, the United States, again, like I just read in Jeremiah 51:7, it said that Babylon the Great was a golden cup in the hand of the Lord. Okay, it said that Babylon the Great was the number one. Babylon the Great was the number one country. Now we identified who Babylon the Great is. Now we got to identify who the Israelites are. Verse 6 says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Okay, so now we can make the point. Babylon the Great, according to the prophet Isaiah, in Isaiah 47 and verse 6, says that the Lord was angry with his people. The Lord prophesied that his people would go into slavery. Okay, that matches up with Deuteronomy the 28th chapter. But I'll read verse 6 again, and it says, I was wroth with my people. Who are the Lord's people? The Israelites. And it says, I polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Okay? Meaning the Lord gave the Israelites as slaves to Babylon the Great. But now that we know Babylon the Great is the United States, now we got to ask ourselves, who were the slaves that were here in North, Central, and South America? Who were the slaves in Babylon the Great? That would be you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, according to the Bible. Now to back that up, what's going on, Art? 20 minutes. So to back that up, I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, okay, chapter 28, okay, in the last verse, right? Because the Lord just told us in Isaiah 47 and 6 that he gave his own people into the hands of the Babylonians, the modern day Babylonians, all right? So we're going to figure out how he did that. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. It says, and the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Okay, so the Lord said he prophesied to send his people into slavery on slave ships, maritime transatlantic slave trade. What other time in history can we point to that the Israelites went into slavery by way of via way of ship? Okay, trade ship. All right, we know that they were walked into Egypt, okay, as 70 souls, and they were taken slaves by the Egyptians, Mizraim, Okay, but that wasn't by way of ship. We know that they were conquered by the Babylonians. Okay, and they were taken in chains, right, to the Levant. Okay, taken away from their homeland. We know that they were conquered by the Greeks, right, and that they were made tributaries, and they were made slaves to the Greek Empire, right. Same with the Medo-Persians. We know that they were made slaves into the Roman Empire, right? We know that they were made slaves into the Roman Empire, but they did not go into those captivities via way of ship, slave ship. There is one specific captivity that the Israelites were prophesied to go into, okay? Daniel chapter 2, like I just read. Daniel chapter 2, okay, talks about the feet of iron and clay. That is where the Israelites would be sent into captivity, right? Via the way of slave ship, like I just read in Deuteronomy 28:68. Let me finish. And it says,
where are you going into?
I'm basically I'm identifying Babylon the Great, and then I'm going to go into all the prophecies that are prophesying the destruction of this place. I was going to hit Isaiah 24. You want to hit that? Yeah, go ahead and go there. Isaiah 34, whatever one you got. So let me finish this one. And the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, and thou shalt see it no more again. Meaning we're not going to be able to go back to our homeland. We're not going to be able to be reconciled to the Lord. Okay? When we were brought into this captivity, we were stripped of everything that we knew, everything that we had. We had no idea we were even Israelites. We weren't even allowed to read the holy words of our Heavenly Father. All right? And it says, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. Right? Prophesying of that captivity, just like in Isaiah 47. All right? It says, thou shalt be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, meaning no man's going to free you out of that captivity. Right? You had those, Underground Railroad. You had people that, finally worked enough to earn enough money to buy their way out of slavery. But guess what? They're still not free. We're still here today. Their descendants are still here today in this wicked captivity. All right? So that's why, okay, now that we've identified Babylon the Great and which modern day country it is, now that we've identified who the slaves were, who the people who were oppressed were, okay, now we can understand why all these prophecies of Babylon the Great being destroyed, okay, is in this book. Starting with Isaiah, the 24th chapter. Okay, go ahead.
1?
Yeah.
Isaiah 24 and verse 1. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the evil, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The heart, the people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. And that curse the Ak is talking about, that curse that's going to make this place desolate, is those thermonuclear warheads, which I'll get some scriptures on that too. But the point is that America has to pay for its deeds and what it's done to the Israelites. America has to pay for what it's doing currently to the Israelites and to the whole world. Okay? And it's not just about the landmass of the United States, okay, that will be incinerated and burned, okay? But we're talking about a specific peoples on the earth that control this place. A specific peoples that own and run the industry, of finance, the justice system, okay? The education system, the labor system, all of the systems that make up a society,
they're run by specific people that are listed in this book as the wicked. Okay? You so-called Caucasians, you so-called Europeans, you so-called white people, which we know there's no such thing as white, but that's what you go by today. All right, we're identifying. You're being what's the word when you go to court? You're being cross-examined. You're being observed. You're being identified. And that's why, I don't know if you've seen, there's been a whole bunch of videos about how a bunch of Edomites, they've been saying like, well, we can't keep having this white guilt from us. We're tired of white guilt. We're proud to be Edomite. We're proud of America. We're proud of how we did things. But that's the Lord putting the spirit on you to do that, to talk like that. Because you're the devil, right? You're the devil that the Bible speaks of. Go ahead and finish what you were reading.
You want me to continue on?
Yeah, continue on that.
Let's see, verse 6. And they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men live. The new wine mourneth, the vineland worship, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth. The joy of the harp ceaseth.
And guess what? We're in that time now where the joy of the harp ceaseth. All right? Meaning happiness in that good old American prosperous spirit, that's all gone. All of these people are miserable, man. From Jake all the way to Esau, everybody is miserable here in the United States. And the reason for that is because the Lord has put, it's time for prophecy to be fulfilled. It's time for payment to be rendered. It's time for judgment to be spread forth. Okay? So that is why everybody in the United States, spiritually, you can feel the heaviness in this place, man. You can feel that something is about to happen. Something terrible is about to happen. Okay? And this place is not coming back. Now I want to back the Akka up. I'm going to go to Jeremiah 51, another great chapter. If you want to go into the destruction of Babylon the Great, I'm going to start from the top, and it says, Jeremiah 51:1. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will rise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and I will send unto Babylon fanners." See, when we talk about fanners, okay, what does a fanner do? When something's on fire and you fan it, right, you blow oxygen on it, because fire needs oxygen to burn. Okay, when you fan a flame, it makes it hotter, it makes it bigger, right? So the flames that are kindled, like you got some smoldering going on here in America right now. Okay, it's not a full flame yet. This place hasn't caught fire yet. But the Lord said He's going to send fanners. Okay, there's going to be something's going to go on where the United States of America is going to erupt in apocalyptic violence, erupt in apocalyptic economic chaos, erupt in social breakdown. Okay, that's the job of the fanners. And it says, it says, "And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land." Remember what I read in Isaiah 24. It said that the land was going to be made desolate, okay, and burned. It says it's going to empty her land. It says, "For in the day of trouble," that's Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah chapter 30, "they shall be against her round about." Those are those other nations, okay, surrounding Babylon the Great with those missiles. Okay, if you read, I can go to it, Ezekiel 38th chapter, which I don't know if you saw that video of Nate getting confounded on he did a video on well, I guess it was I'm not even sure if he was a Christian, but he was basically making the point that the so-called white man is Japheth, because in Ezekiel 38 it's talking about Gomer and Tubal and Meshach, right? He's saying, who are those nations? And Nate was confounded on that, okay, not knowing that those names, yes, well, those are the names of the descendants of Japheth. Those are talking about the current occupiers of those lands. A great example is if you look at those small hats in the land of Israel impersonating us right now. Okay, if you look at them, what do they call themselves? A lot of them call themselves Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, now think of the term Ashkenazi Jew. It doesn't make any sense. Ashkenaz, well, was he the grandson of Japheth? I believe he was either the son or the grandson of Japheth. But Ashkenaz is Japhetic, right? But a Jew is someone from the tribe of Yahawada, which is Shemitic. So which one are you? You can't be Japhetic and Shemitic. Okay? So that's just because you have that label on you in the scriptures, just because you have that label on you, does not mean that that's your actual biblical lineage and identity. What's going on in Ezekiel 38 is the people who are currently occupying that land, which is the Edomites, okay, are going by those names, which is why Russians are called the Medes, right? You know, the people that are from Germany and Poland, they're called Ashkenaz, you know. The people that are from the southern, like Turkey and all that, they're called Gomer, you know, because those are the lands that those tribes occupied in the first place. But almost nobody's in their original lands, you know. Let's go to Ezekiel 38, and it says, this is Ezekiel 38:1, and it says, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Now, who is the Lord talking about? Is he talking to Japheth here? The Lord ain't talking about Japheth, okay? Because, you know, scriptures, prophecy doesn't really go into Japheth. Japheth is a background character. But you know who the prophecy really does talk about? It talks about Esau all the time. It talks about Edom being destroyed. Okay? It says, and say, thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. So the Lord is basically turning these Russians, these modern day Russians, okay, which that's happening right now, I believe, in Ukraine with the Ukrainian war. I believe the Lord used that whole proxy war going on in Ukraine to take those modern day Medes, those Russians, and turn them back into that old Soviet Union mindset, okay, to come against the United States of America, which we know because of this prophecy that it's going to be Russia is going to be the main country that's going to send those missiles over here to the United States when the time comes, you know. So you got anything?
Isaiah 24.
Yep. Yeah.
You want me to continue there?
Yeah, go ahead.
The mirth of tabrets, the joy of the harp season. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. The city of confusion. The meaning of Babel, okay, Babel means confusion. So America, the United States of America, is the city of confusion. All right? That's why you can have grown men walking around in skirts with their rods chopped off. That's why you can have a faggot running, walking free downtown. You can't do nothing. That's why That's why women can have authority over a man. That's confusion, right? All the way down to the smallest detail. This place is upside down and confused. Okay, so all of that in combination with this place is totally wicked, and who owns it and runs it is exactly why Isaiah 24 is going to come to pass. Okay, well, go ahead. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree, and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. They shall lift up their voice, they shall sing for majesty of the Lord Yahweh. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Wherefore glorify ye the Lord Yahweh in the fires, even the name of the Yahweh power of Israel, in the islands of the sea. From the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs, even glory up to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously.
And the treacherous dealers, okay, that's going to the elites, these merchants that own and run the earth. The so-called white man, which consists of his different tribes, but it's really you Rothschilds. Okay, we can name you by name now. You Rothschilds, you Oppenheimers, you DuPonts, you Gettys, okay, and the other families that are involved in running this place. Okay, these people are going to be taken out of power. All right. Now to add on to that, I'm going to read out of 2nd Esdras, chapter 8, in verse 50. I'll start at verse 49, and it says, "In that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous, therefore shall they suffer much misery and be in such state that those who dwell on the earth in the last days," we're in the last days right now. These are the last days. So the Lord is talking about us. Okay? It says, they who dwell on the earth in the last days shall have pity on them, because they have walked in great pride. And you can see it on the faces and in the way people conduct themselves here in America. Proud. Can't tell nobody nothing. Everybody thinks they're the best. That everybody thinks that they're worthy of being paid attention to. That's the whole thing about social media. It pumps everybody's head up, right? You scroll on social media, and I'm guilty of it, right? I'm guilty of sometimes I'll doom scroll on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you know, and every single feed, every single post by an individual is them trying to impress everybody else. Them showing a highlight, seeing how much weight you can lift, how fast you can run. Women showing off their ass, right, in those spandex, you know? And it's to the point now where these people are so proud that it's all the same. Nothing's original anymore. You seen one girl on TikTok showing her ass in spandex. You seen them all. You seen that they all do the same trends, right? They all do the same little silly TikTok dances, right? They all do this. The guys do the same poses. The girls do the same. It's all the same. Everybody's a goddamn zombie out here, man. You know. But yet when they turn the phone off, what does it say? When they turn the phone off, it says, "Therefore they shall suffer much misery and be in such a state that those who dwell on the earth in the last days shall have pity on them, because they have walked in great pride." They dwell in their lives are miserable, man. Social media is fake. Everybody hates their life, man. Nobody wants to engage with people anymore. Okay, call out Gabar-yah-ahla for that. Nobody wants to go out and interact. You know, people will do it just to try to get away from the pain, but really it's getting to the point now where that's not even going to work. Okay, soon nobody's going to be going out. What does it say in Isaiah 24? It says there's going to be a crying for wine in the streets. You know, people are going to want to drink, because not to party, but to dull the pain. Okay, whilst the men of the Lord are going to be rejoicing. You know, I don't know if you got anything else you wanted to expound on or anything.
You want to get more on 24?
Why don't we go to Isaiah 34? Let's go to Isaiah 34. Start
I
from the
think
top.
they do have some good more here.
Okay, go ahead.
Some good key verses here.
Go ahead.
Isaiah 24 verse 18. "And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from noise," verse 17, "fear in the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitants of the earth." Kind of that pit can go into here America, basically. A pit can go into a hole, a ditch. Yahweh Shai mentions that the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a ditch.
That's right.
That blind is America here, and that ditch is America, this bitch America. Fear in the pits and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitants of the earth. At 18, and it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on higher are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The shaking that's going to be caused by the ICBM missiles. You imagine one missile can cause windows to break from miles off, thousands of miles away.
That's right.
So, and then you still feel the rotation from that one missile. The vibration from it encircling the whole earth for days.
Well, what does the scripture say? It says the whole world is gonna quake. It's a real rock and reel to and fro like a drunkard. You know?
We just read that here in the same chapter here in verse 4, I believe it was.
Yep.
If I may continue here.
Yep.
Verse 19, the earth is utterly broken down, the earth is clean, the salt, the heat from the missiles. He's going to make everything here clean. You imagine a fire was one of the best purifiers. It's even in the laws, when an unclean thing would touch the metal, you would have to put it in the fire. But if it were to touch wood, you would have to burn it. So the Lord there, he knew that fire was a perfect purifier. You think about Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord had to clean that bitch through fire, sulfur. So America's gonna be clean to salt, man. The earth is moved exceedingly. Verse 20 it was actually 20. That's the spirit. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. The kings of the earth are the wicked Rothschilds, the wicked elites. It mentions them here in 22. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners and gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. We may want to end up putting them inside a hole, man, and keeping them there for many days.
That's right. They did that to us. They did so many torturous things to Jake that the Lord said, we're going to do to them double what they did to us. You know?
I got one last verse.
Yep.
Then the moon shall be confounded. The moon can go into knowledge. And the sun ashamed. The sun can go into wisdom, the wisdom of this world, the knowledge of this world. It's going to be confounded. When the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. Alright, Yahweh Shah is going to get the throne again and reign again. Then Yahweh Shah is going to be calling the shots. You know, he's going to be telling what these elites are going to be going to have to go and do.
Right. And now during this time, when the Lord finally does send those missiles over here, what's going to happen is, you know, it's not just going to be Edomites getting destroyed here. It's not going to just be the heathen. Okay, it's going to be our people as well. As a matter of fact, the scriptures say right here in Zechariah 13:8, it says that most of the Israelites are going to be destroyed here. Okay, it says, and it shall come to pass that in the land, saith the Lord Yahweh, 2 parts therein. 2 parts, that's 2/3. Okay, so was that 66%? Yep. 2/3 shall be cut off there and die. But the 3rd part shall be left therein, okay? And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, which is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh is my power. Now, why is the Lord going to destroy 2/3 of the nation of Israel? Let me jump over here to Hosea chapter 7, and we'll start from the top, and it says, when I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they commit falsehood, and the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoileth without. And they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Just like today, the Israelites, don't really consider the Lord. They don't want to consider the Lord. As a matter of fact, the thing that they consider is Jesus Christ, which under Christianity, under Jesus Christ, you can continue to sin. You can continue to sin here in Babylon the Great, which is another reason why this place is upside down. And it says, I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. When Israelites sin, when they do the things that they're not supposed to be doing, that makes Esau, Edom, their enemies, happy, man. You know why? Because it means, now we know those Jakes. They're not woken up, man. They're not going to wake up. They're still against the Lord, man. The Lord isn't going to come down and help them if they're continuing to do the things that they're not supposed to do. So Esau, Edom, the king of this current world, right? He's ecstatic when he sees Jake killing another Jake. When he sees Jake getting arrested. When he sees Jake smoking weed. When he sees Jake eating pork. When he sees Jake eating shrimp. When he hears Jake call upon the wrong name. When Jake calls upon Jesus Christ, Esau loves it, man. Esau loves that shit. When Jake is in wrong order, is not in order with his power, Esau can continue to oppress you. Okay? Now, let me keep reading. And it says, they are all adulterers. That's true. Unless you're a virgin, you're an adulterer in this society. You're an adulterer. Okay? It says, they are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceaseth from rising after he hath kneaded the dough until it be leavened. In the day of our king, the princes have made him sick with the bottles of wine. He stretcheth out his hand with scorners, for they have made ready their heart like an oven, whilst they lie in wait. Their baker sleepeth all the night, and in the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. That's going into how these people right now, these Jakes, right? They're all asleep right now. Okay? But when the fire comes, when Jacob's trouble hits, and the Lord, puts the sword to him, then guess what? They're gonna be calling on the Lord, asking for mercy, trying to get right, trying to find the man of the Lord, trying to get right, trying to find out about the 12 tribe sign, Oh, brother, I was listening the whole time, though. No, you wasn't. You was scoffing the whole time. You was eating shrimp the whole time. You was doing what you wanted to do the whole time. You was going to church. You probably just celebrated Easter, man. I got people in my family that just celebrated Easter. And I got on them about it. Because they act like they want to get right and hear about the words of the Lord. But guess what? Then you go to Easter service Sunday, man. But that time is coming, man. That time is coming. Let me go. If you got anything, go ahead. Let me find this real quick.
Isaiah 34.
Yeah. Go there.
Starting 1.
Yep.
It says Isaiah 34 and 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury is upon their armies. Ye have utterly destroyed them. Ye have delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain shall also be cast out, and their steak shall come up out of their carcasses, and with the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
That's right.
Verse 9, verse 4. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll.
And what is that talking about? That's talking about when the Lord finally brings all these armies together, and he's pouring out that indignation, which is going to be in the form of first World War III, these armies battling and killing each other. Then he's going to send Yahweh down to save the elect, to pull them out of danger. Okay? But the sky is being rolled together as a scroll. That's another verse talking about these nuclear missiles, or at least the result of the nuclear missiles. That mushroom cloud that you see. It's an iconic image. Okay? Go ahead.
rolled out together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse, to judgment. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Bosra, and
Go ahead.
and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
That's the point that I was making. We're identifying Babylon the Great. And since we know where it is now, we know that this place is also known as the land of Idumea. Okay? And the Lord said that the Edomites were the people of his curse, and that he has planned for them a great slaughter, okay, via his sword. Okay? The Lord has many weapons, many armies. But the sword he's talking about here is those missiles. If you pay attention to world events, which is how you get into prophecy, okay, the world events in history that fulfills itself in real life, that's the fulfillment of prophecy, okay? So when the Lord says, my sword shall be bathed in heaven, he's saying that those missiles are going to come across those skies, man. Those missiles are going to burn up and commit a great slaughter here in the land of Idumea, where their main target is the Edomites, with the Israelites that refuse to repent as well. Okay? Go ahead, keep going on that.
Verse 7. And the unicorn shall come down from them with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion.
For the controversy of Zion, there's a reason why the Lord is doing this. He ain't just doing this randomly. He's doing this because he has a controversy, right? Or what does that first verse say again? The very first verse.
Come near ye nations and to hearken.
Yep.
To
Keep
hear
going.
and hearken, ye people. Let
right.
the earth hear and all that is therein.
Keep going.
The world and all things that come forth of it.
Yep.
For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations.
Now, yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted. The indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. Why? Then you go to the last verse the act read. It's because of the controversy of Zion. What is the controversy of Zion? It's the fact that these so-called goddamn white people, okay, they put their hands in their filthy, grubby, devil hands on the Lord's people. You touch the apple of the Lord's eye. Now you got to pay for it. Okay, let me hit this. I believe I had it right. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go to the book of Joel, chapter 3. I'm going to start verse 2, and it says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yehoshaphat, which means valley of judgment, or valley of the Lord's judgment. Okay, and it says, we'll bring them down to the valley of Yehoshaphat and will plead with them there. That word plead is going into punish or to judge or to bring great destruction upon. That's what it means to plead. Okay, will plead with them there for my people. Again, harping on the last verse in Isaiah 34, where it said the controversy of Zion. In Joel 3, it says he will plead for his people. For there I will plead for my people, or plead with them there for my people and for mine heritage. The heritage of the Lord is his children. Okay? His children are the Israelites. The seed, the promised seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? Not Japheth, not Esau, not Ishmael, right? Not any of the other sons that Abraham had. Okay? But Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You got to come through one of those men. You got to come through Jacob. You got to come through all those men. You got to come through Jacob at the end to be considered an Israelite. Okay? Now, if we get into the deeper spiritual topic, which we won't get into that today, of reincarnation, you understand that all the sons of God came through the Israelites now, and they're here now as Israelites. Okay? So, let me continue reading that one. Joel 3, And let me finish. 2, and it says, "For my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land." So the prophecy says that the Israelites will not be in their land, okay, until Yahushua comes back. Which is another reason why those people over in the land currently right now are clearly imposters. Clearly they don't belong there. All right? Keep going. It says, "And they have cast lots for my people." You cast lots for your people, like you're gambling. You know, sometimes you might put a watch on the table. You know, bring out a wad of cash, put it on the table. You might be playing some cards, throwing some dice. You know, that's what they were doing, but they were doing it with Israelites. As a matter of fact, that's one of the commodities in Babylon the Great. Revelation chapter 17. We get to it. Revelation chapter 17 talks about that. Revelation 17. Revelation, I'm gonna start at 3. And it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw the woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. That's Babylon the Great, sitting upon NATO in the EU. Okay. It says, saw a woman sitting upon a scarlet colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations. That goes into the philosophies, right? How they spread their democracy around the world. You know what's going on? You heard about what's going on in Africa right now, right? I believe I forget his name, but there's a country in Africa that's basically doing away with all European influence. They're basically saying fuck you to the bankers, to Esau, basically. And you know how that is. That the other African leader that tried that was what was his name? Gaddafi? No, that was the name. But that one Libyan president that they slaughtered, right? That's going on again. These nations are starting to buck up against Esau, man. Okay? And it says, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Okay? With the blood of the saints. Okay? So like I read in Joel 3, they were casting lots for the Lord's people. And this woman in this land was drunk with the blood of the saints. Who are the saints? Who are the saints? Go ahead.
Going into slavery in Deuteronomy 28, 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. So this is what happened, man. They call it this transatlantic slave. And that's where Esau packed us in as sardines, brought us over here.
And it wasn't just Negroes, it was the Latinos as well. Those Native American Indians and the people in Central and South America. They got put in slave ships as well. I believe that one location in Spain, I forget the name of it, it was Madrid. Is it Madrid, Spain? There's a city on the coast of Spain that was known as the reverse slave capital of the world, where they would take slave ships from the Americas and send slaves over there to Spain. Okay, the conquistadors. All right. So go ahead.
It's rumored that basically you had much disease in those ships because people would have to use the bathroom on each other. They would be on top of you. Imagine someone being on top of you and now that to use the bathroom. Now he would be having to use it on top of you.
That's right. And go ahead.
And then you would have to see there's a witnesses of the kids jumping off the seas just so they can stop feeling starvation.
Yeah, not only were they jumping off, but Esau would throw them off too. Esau, if anybody got sick or they got hurt or injured or if they just wanted to get rid of cargo, they would take slaves from the ship, bottom of the ship, and they would just throw them overboard. That was in that movie. What was that movie? Amistad, I believe it was Amistad. You know, where Esau he tied a bunch of the slaves together, and they were all chained up together in like a line, and he kicked the first one off, and it was like a chain reaction, and they all slid off the ship. Esau did that. That was real. That actually happened. So you gotta, we see it in a movie, right? You might hear about it, but what you gotta do sometimes is you gotta really put yourself in that moment right there as an Israelite. Really think about what you would be going through knowing that you're about to die. You're about to sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's terrible. What did the Lord say was one of the worst ways to die? Okay? When he said, roughly paraphrasing, he said, rather than offend one of these little ones, it'd be better that you hang a millstone around your neck and be drowned in the ocean. That's because drowning in the ocean is one of the worst things that can ever happen to you. So imagine getting just thrown into that cold, dark water. Many of them actually. I heard a fact from Elder Yashawamba in the Dallas camp that sharks were trained to follow those ships because they knew eventually Esau was gonna lighten the load of his cargo. Somebody was gonna get sick, they would get thrown off. Somebody would jump off, or that what happened in that movie would happen. We have a whole bunch of them get thrown off. So sharks would actually follow the ships, the slave ships, knowing that they would get a meal eventually if they followed long enough. So now you got to think about it, right? You're an Israelite. You're about to get tossed overboard. You're either going to drown or you're going to get eaten alive by a shark, big ass great white. That's terrible, man. That's terrible. But guess what, Esau? Guess what? We gonna do that same thing to you. Matter of fact, we might have tanks with sharks in them. That's one thing I might, because the kingdom of heaven, we gonna have all type of shit, But sometimes I like to think, well, what are we gonna do to Esau? And I know one thing's gonna happen. We're gonna have tanks with sharks in them. And you ever see at the carnival circus? You ever go to a carnival and you throw the ball at the thing, and you try to get the guy in the water tank? We're gonna do that to Esau, but we're gonna have sharks in the tank, hungry sharks, and we're gonna be able to communicate with animals and all that, So the things that are coming to this place, okay, like we said, things that are coming to this place, all right, and the people that have run this place, it's all according to the will of the Lord to get vengeance. Let me keep reading in Joel 3 and 4. It says, yep.
And that's why this judgment's going to come to pass here. This is an account of what happens. The Lord destroying your heathens by the Moabites here. Numbers 21 and verse 23. And Sihon would not suffer Israel to pass through his border. But Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness. And he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel. Verse 24. And Israel smote him with the edge of the sword and possessed his land from Arnon unto Jabbok, even unto the children of Ammon. For the border of the children of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, and Heshbon, and in all the villages thereof. And Heshbon was the city of Zion, the king of the Amorites, who fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land out of his hand, even unto Arnon. Wherefore they that speak in Proverbs say, come into Heshbon, let the city of Zion be built and prepared. For there is a fire gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Zion. They have consumed are Moab, and the lords of the high places of Arnon. Woe to thee, Moab, thou art undone. O people of Chemosh, that was the god of Moab, Chemosh. He hath given his sons that escaped and his daughters into captivity unto Zion, king of the Amorites. We have shot at them. Heshbon is perished even unto Dibon, and we have laid them waste unto Nepal, which reacheth unto Medeba. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. And Moses sent a spy out sent to spy out to Jazer. Moses was doing what you call it, reconnaissance. Sent a splinter cell in there. We have shot at to spy out Jazer, and they took the villages thereof and drove out the Amorites that were there. And they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and all the king of Bashan went out against him, he and all his people, to the battle of Edrei. And the Lord said unto Moses, fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hand, and all his people in his land. And thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Zion, king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. So they smote him too, and his sons and all his people, until there was none left of him alive, and they possessed his land. And so this was Moses. That's how you know Moses was King David, because only Moses would have been able to do that. You know, Solomon couldn't even do that. They couldn't. No other king could have done what King David did. When you go into it, it says that King David defeated all the heathens, the Amalekites, the Edomites, the Moabites,
all his enemies round about.
All his enemies round about.
That's right. Put him to the sword.
Moses did this like basically the same thing. When you go into the list of the kings that Yahweh helped Israel defeat, before getting into Israel, it was like 24 kings. Right,
you can get into that in the book of Joshua, okay? Right before they got into the land, because Moses wasn't allowed to go into the land, but the first enemy they fought against was Amalek. Okay, Amalek was the first one to meet him out there, and that's when Moses, you know, he had his hands held up, right? And when Moses' hands went down, then the Amalek would prevail. But when they put him back up, right, and he had the other Israelites, 2 Israelites, help him hold his hands up, and Israel would prevail. Okay, showing you that when that was representative, that's symbolic, right? When Israel is upright, right? When Israel is right, they can't be defeated. It's impossible, right? But when they're down, when they're in the lowest state, in the valley, right, they can be defeated. They can be overthrown. And that's what's been going on. Let me read this. Remember in Revelation 17, it says that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints. Okay, we got to identify who the saints are, right? Psalms 148 and 14. He also exalted the horn of his people, right? The horn that goes into the kingdom, the power, okay, of his people. Who are his people? Well, he identifies that. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, the people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord. So he identified once again who the saints are. You got to come from that bloodline, man. You got to come from that covenant, the Mosaic covenant that was made between you and your forefathers, man. Okay? And if I go to even the very next verse, Psalms 149, it says, praise ye the Lord Yahweh, sing unto the Lord Yahweh a new song, and his praise in the congregation of saints. Let the children of Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king. It's the children of Israel, the children of Zion. If we go to Isaiah, the 61st chapter, the gospel, it talks about who the captives are. It talks about those that are broken-hearted, broken spirit. It talks about Israel, Zion, once again, proving that the Israelites, the Zion, the memorial of Zion, okay, is who the Lord is doing this for, man. He ain't doing it for everybody, right? We go to the book, real quick, book of Luke, chapter 1. Okay? This is Luke chapter 1 and verse 60, start 67. Okay? It says, and his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Ghost, the Ruach, and prophesied, saying, Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up a horn. There's that horn again, right? A horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. Okay, who was that horn? That horn was Yahweh Shai. Okay, he raised up a power for us, man. Which really he came as a sacrificial lamb. Okay, but he represents our power. Okay, because when the Lord returns, right, he ain't coming as a man. He's coming as a God, a power. It says, he hath raised up a horn of his salvation for us in the house of his servant David. Okay, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. So from Genesis to Revelation, right? From Genesis to Malachi, okay? From first Esdras all the way to the second Maccabees, okay? From Matthew to Revelation, the whole thing from since the world began has been a promise to the children of Israel, man. That you're not going to always be in captivity. You're not going to always be in the bottom. You're not going to always be downtrodden and beaten. You're not going to always be the poor in the ghettos, right? This is just a temporary punishment, you know, a temporary estate. Soon, when Yahweh Shai returns, we're going to be put back into our rightful position as kings, as gods, as rulers of the earth, man. You know, we're not going to be walking around as everybody's proverb and everybody's byword a joke, you know. And Matthew, Numbers, the 24th chapter, talks about how all these heathens that we're going to have in captivity, they're going to have to respect us, man. They're going to have fear upon us, man. Go ahead, what you want?
I want to get into Numbers. In the book of Numbers 24.
I'll be back.
All right.
The book of Numbers 24 and verse 1. And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not as at other times to seek for enchantments, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes, and he saw Israel abiding in his tents, according to their tribes, and the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up this parable, and said, Balaam the son of Beor, he hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, which saw the vision of the Almighty falling into a trance, by having his eyes open. How goodly are thy tents, O Jacob, and thy tabernacles, O Israel. As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the river's side, as the trees of line aloes, which the Lord hath planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters.
Yeah, that and for my interject, that's talking about Jacob. Okay, Jacob. It was prophesied, like the ox reading right now in Numbers 24. It was prophesied that Jacob, that bucket, that water, that's talking about his seed. Okay, being amongst all nations, right? Being scattered across all nations of the world. Okay, so that's how we know that not all Israelites are going to look like the stereotypical Israelite, man. Go ahead.
He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters.
Yep.
Yeah, because waters goes into kingdom, goes into seas. When you go into Revelation, the 17th chapter,
Hebrews, yeah.
and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brought him out of Egypt. He had as it were the strength of a unicorn. He shall eat up the nations, his enemies. That's what the Most High is going to do. And shall break their bones and pierce them through with his arrows. He lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up?
Ooh, I got a precept to add what you just said. It's like this is Revelation 2:27. It says, "He shall rule them with a rod of iron, and as vessels of a potter they shall be broken into shivers." That goes into what I just said about the Lord is gonna break these other people, man. You know? I just want to add that. Go ahead.
He lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed he that curseth thee. So all your nations, for cursing us, you're going to be cursed. And Balak's anger, I'm going to skip on down now to the second parable Balaam here is going to get in verse 15. This is in verse 13. If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the commandments of the Lord Yahweh, to do either good or bad of my own hand mine. But what the Lord Yahweh saith, that will I speak. And now behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. So this is what the nation of Israel is going to be. This is promised. To the wicked elites, Rothschilds. You may not think that this is going to happen because you'll beat us down so long. To the other heathens, bottom level heathens. This is what's going to happen to you. Verse 14. What this evil shall do to thy people in the latter days, in the near future. And he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, hath said, and the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not tonight. 9. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. The brother brought out that precept, thou shalt break them up with the rod of iron. That's what that is. Yep. A scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. The mighty men, we're going to be those mighty men, those 30 David's mighty men. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. The Babylon, those that remain out of Babylon. And when he looked upon Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he shall perish forever. And he looked on the Canaanites. If you know who the Canaanites are or not.
The Kenites?
Yeah.
I forget.
And he looked on the Kenites, probably stemming from Edom, and took up his parable and said, strong is thy dwelling place, and thou puttest thy nest in a rock.
I believe that's Edomite tribe.
Yeah, because it said, puttest thy nest in a rock.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, the Kenites shall be wasted until Asher shall carry thee away captive. Asher was Elam. Elam was known to get rich off slavery, going back to Joseph. And he took up his parable and said, alas, who shall live when God doeth this? And ships shall come from Shittim, and shall afflict Asher, and shall afflict Eber, and also shall perish forever. That's Israel defeating y'all nations, man, stopping y'all down.
That's right. Our foot upon your necks, your throats.
And Balaam rose up and went and returned to his place, and Balak also went his way. And that's the end of the chapter, 24th chapter.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite chapters because really, it's a guarantee, man. That's a guaranteed prophecy. All the prophecies are guaranteed, but that's one of the best ones because we get to think about what we're gonna do to you. All right, let me get this in Revelation 21 and 22, and it says, "And I saw no temple therein," because this is going into the kingdom. All right, John the Revelator is looking at the kingdom right now. Revelation 21 and 22, and it says, "And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, power almighty, and the Lamb, which is Yahweh Shai, are the temple of it. And the city, which is Jerusalem, had no need of the sun, neither the moon, because we're going to know all things. Okay? The Israelites will know all things. Right? We're not going to have no more questions. What does the scripture say? Each man shall no more teach his neighbor. We're not going to teach Israelites anymore saying, know ye the Lord. Okay? We're going to know everything. Okay? And it says, to shine in it, for the glory of Yahweh Shem Shai did light in it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved, which mean, and that's a good point to make. This is not saying that you other nations are going to get salvation, okay? This is saying some of you are going to be spared, right? You're going to be spared in the fact that we're not going to kill all of you, okay? We're going to have some of you as slaves so you can bring back the rest of your people, and we'll have more slaves, okay? And it says, and the gates of it shall not, one more verse back. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor unto it. These other kings, right, the leaders of the other nations, they're going to bring us tribute, okay? They're going to bring us gifts and alms. They're going to bring us resources. We're going to be the ones taking in the resources. It's not going to be Esau, Edom taking the resources no more. It's not going to be other nations having their own autonomy and resources. No, we're going to get a piece of everything. As a matter of fact, we own everything. Okay? And especially in the first 1,000 years in the kingdom, y'all are nothing more. Y'all got no rights. You have no land. You have no heritage. Right?
You have no sovereignty.
You have no sovereignty. You are a slave. And you will be treated as such. Okay? So all the gold, all the silvers, all the land, all your women, that belongs to us, man. Okay? We keep reading. And it says, and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and their honor unto it, and the gates of it shall not be shut by day, for there shall be no night there, and they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations unto it. I believe, what's that scripture that says we shall suck the milk of the Gentiles? We shall suck the milk, which means we're going to take everything. Everything is ours, man. You know, we're gonna sweet milk we're going to take from you. Okay? And it says, and there shall no wise enter into it anything that defileth. Right now, you go to Jake neighborhoods, everything is defiled. You're selling pork over here, you got a Ouija board store over there. You got, a voodoo shop over here. You got fucking Christian church over here and over here and over here. Everything is defiled in Jake's neighborhood, But in the kingdom, there will be no thing that will defile our palaces, our land, our sovereignty. Okay? All thanks to Yahweh Shem Shai. And it says, and there shall no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. Who's written in the Lamb's book of life? That's the elect, man. The elect of the nation of Israel will have certain status. Let it go back. One thing I was thinking about the other day was, once you really start to conceptualize and grasp like the what the Heavenly Father is about to do, and the fact that we're under these Edomites, okay? When you look at Esau and his the way he does things, the way he structures things, when you look at Esau's power, right, and you know what the Heavenly Father is capable of, he really didn't give Esau no power. He really didn't he gave Esau a shitty ass rulership. If this is the best you can do, right? If this is the Esau best he can do, he can you know, he can make some cars, you know, fly a 747 or something like that. Man, the kingdom is going to be far beyond anything that we have ever even imagined, man. It's going to be completely and totally different, right? And the kingdom belongs to you Israelites. Let me read this. Revelation 21:11. Having the glory of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. It had a wall great and high. It had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, those are the names that we got listed here. Okay, so you know that's really just, you know, symbolic for the children of Israel are going to own the kingdom. That's the kingdom of heaven is for them, man. Okay, but if you got anything,
Got one, Isaiah 34.
okay, go ahead.
Isaiah 34 and verse 6. Actually verse 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense is for the conspiracy of Zion. Once again, the conspiracy of Zion. Because we went off, when you go to Numbers, the 24th chapter, that's then worshiping the right after the Lord finished blessing them through Balaam. When you go into Numbers, the chapter after, 25th chapter, Jake ends up making a golden calf to worship. Breaking the first commandment right after the Lord just finished blessing the acts. You know, the Lord just blessed you, just said he was going to get everything. And the next day following after that, you go and make a calf to worship. It says in verse 8, Isaiah 34 and verse 8, let this Edomites pass.
They just doing something? What they doing?
Until time Esau interrupted. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. That's also going to be that land of Israel over there. Burning pitch. Verse 10, and it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. That's Babylon here. You're gonna have ponds of smoke. Probably like you see in those movies, cartoon movies. I believe it's the Lion King, the hyenas. That whole place is smoke there. That's gonna be those creatures dwelling. You're gonna have strange creatures dwelling here. Because I was looking into Chernobyl. They said that in Chernobyl, after the blast, they had a pig that was born with 8 legs. You're gonna have those strange creatures that's gonna be dwelling here in Babylon.
Yep.
All dark, all ponds of smoke.
Creatures newly created. That's what the Apocrypha said. I forget, was that Wisdom of Solomon, I believe? Creatures newly created. There's things that have not been discovered. Okay, I do not want to have the pleasure of being introduced to one of those creatures. I would like to stay out of the way of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai.
Oh, it says in verse 11 here.
Right.
But the cormorants and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness.
The line of confusion goes into there. You're not gonna know where borders started and ended. Like you're not gonna know, okay, this is where California was, this is where Utah was. This is where Michigan was. You're not gonna know. It's all gonna be one sandy desert.
And it mentions the raven. I've been seeing a lot of ravens this past week. That's when you see a raven, it can also mean that the destruction of Babylon. Verse 12. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof. And it shall be a habitation of dragons, and a courts for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screeching owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay, and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek ye out of the book of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and read. No one of these shall fail. No prophecy here is going to fail. Unlike your Talmud or your other, what the Muslims call their book?
The Quran.
The Quran.
Talmud. Fucking Egyptian Book of the Dead. All of that shit is going to fail. Scripture says that Marduk shall be confounded, and the idols of this place are going to be broken down. Okay? Marduk goes into the ancient Babylonian gods that they used to worship back in during the Tower of Babel. Okay, back then even, you know, they were worshiping other gods and had different books and all this shit. This is the book of the Lord right here. This is all we need right here. You read this, Scripture says, "Blessed is the man that readeth, and that keepeth the words of this prophecy." Okay. Revelation 1, chapter verse 1. Let me get that, actually. Revelation, chapter 1, verse 1. The revelation of Yahushua and Mashiach, which Yahweh gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and the testimony of Yahushua and Mashiach of all things that he saw. Blessed is he that readeth, right, like the ox said. You got to search out of this book, right? This book and read. What did Yahushua say at the Last Supper, the Passover? Okay, he said, this bread is my flesh, right? You got to eat of it. He was really talking about you got to get into this book. This book is likened unto food, spiritual food and water. Okay. It says, blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein. For the time is at hand. And that's what we're coming out to say, man. The time is at hand. The time is now. Right? The time is now. But you know, as many dastardly and devilish and destructive things are about to happen, right? We're so excited because we understand that on the other side of this is going to be the kingdom of heaven, like I was reading about in Revelation 21, the 12 gates. And that same chapter talks about those 12 stones, you know, the sardonyx, the chastity, the onyx, the ruby, right? The emerald, okay? All of that. That's all coming to us, man. We're going to be put in a position of dominance, a position of rulership, okay? Let me read Joshua, because I looked something up online. Joshua chapter 10 and verse 22. It says, then Joshua opened the mouth of the cave and bring out, then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave. The king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought out those kings unto Joshua, and Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war which went with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. See, the Israelites have never been a nice, friendly, right? We've never been a soft, friendly peoples, man. We're warriors. And when we need to, right? We'll conquer you. We'll put our foot on your neck, and we'll end you. Okay? We just don't got our power right now. The other nations are able to take advantage of us. I just typed into Google, what does putting your foot on the neck mean? And the AI overview says, in idiom, putting your foot on someone's neck means to be in a position of dominance, control, or authority over them. It suggests to have complete power and the ability to oppress or harm them. Right, because if you think about it, if you got somebody that got their foot on your neck, you vulnerable, man. You at their mercy, okay? They can do whatever they want. The phrase originates from a biblical passage where Joshua commanded his people to put their feet on the necks of the captured kings as a symbol of their victory and authority. That is what that kingdom, that's what this book is about, man. Getting that back. Getting back our authority and our power over these other nations, man.
Was that in Jericho?
That was no, that was in Israel right after they because remember they came in and then they dominated so much that those five kings fled. They fled into those caves. So they were in Jerusalem, right? And it says that Joshua opened his mouth of the cave, and then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those five kings unto me out of the cave. Because these were Canaanite kings, right? These were Canaanites, Africans, okay? And it says, and they did so and brought them out, the five kings, unto him out of the cave. And the king of Jerusalem, so that was one, the king of Hebron, okay? I believe Hebron was a little bit to the north, wasn't it? The king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, okay? And we put our feet up on their necks, man. We dominated our enemies.
And there's another account in Judges where the judge wanted his son to come and kill the king.
Yeah.
But the son was too young. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's how Israel got down.
Yeah, we taught our sons were taught how to be warriors, how to fight. Okay? All Israelite men, because there was a specific age where you joined the military. I believe it was 20 years old, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 20 years old and upward, you went into the military service. Unless you got married, that's in the law. Unless you got married or you were betrothed, you got a year off so that you could bring forth seed. Okay? Because you might go off to war and die. You know? So the Israelites, hey man, they fear us, man. They fear us. Go ahead.
Song of Solomon, the third chapter, verse 6. Who is this that cometh out of the wilderness, like pillars of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and fragrances, and with all the powders of the merchant? Behold, his bed which is Solomon's, 60 men, 60 men, are about it, of the valiant of Israel. They all hold swords, being experts in war. Every man hath a sword upon his thigh because of the fear in the night. And King Solomon made himself a chariots of the wood of Lebanon. He made the pillars thereof of silver and the bottom thereof of gold. The covering of it of purple, the midst thereof being paved with blood, for the daughters of Jerusalem. Go forth, O ye daughters of Zion, and behold King Solomon with the crown wherewith his mother crowned him in the day of his espousals, and in the day of the gladness of his heart. That was one of his happiest days right there.
Yeah. They said they were all experts in war. Okay? That was one of the main key characteristics of an Israelite man. Expert in war. That's why Jake dominates the fighting sports, the combat sports. Boxing, wrestling, UFC, MMA, martial arts like karate and all that shit. You go over to Asia, kickboxing, all that. That's Jake, man. Dominating. Okay? Let me read this account. David, I believe you mentioned David and his 37 mighty men. I'm going to read that account. Because I remember when I first was getting into the first Samuel, and I was reading about David, right? This is really where the mighty nature of the Israelites is really on display in this chapter. Okay? How we were physically dominant over all other nations. Okay? This is 1 Samuel.
But they'll argue, oh, well, we had Julius Caesar, we had Alexander.
Right. Fucking, they were all faggots, man. Faggots. Every last one of them. Alexander the Greek freak was a freak, man. That's why we call him Alexander the Freak, man. Okay? All you Romans, you Greeks, y'all are faggots. You like popping little boys. You like doing all that shit. Okay? When the Israelites are not being poisoned, they're not being fucking brainwashed, when they're not fucking being literally destroyed at every level, at every second of every day, we still dominate. What are they talking about? We still dominate in the lowest state we've ever been. We're the weakest. I believe what's that in the Sirach? It says, "Thou does not consider that the stature of them in the later time is less than those that were before them." We are the weakest, the smallest, the frailest, the most mentally disturbed, the most poisoned we've ever been, and we still dominate physically over all nations. They can't touch us in anything. Okay, just to get that clear. But let me read this. This 1 Samuel 23:1. It says, "Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Keilah, and they rob the threshing floors." It says, "Therefore David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go and smite the Philistines?" Because you're going to see this whole story. This is about when David went and got, I believe the Philistines were trying to take over one of the cities. Okay, and they were robbing them. And David took his mighty men, and especially the first three. Okay, let's skip to that. I believe that is verse 3. It says, and David's men said unto him, Behold, we be afraid here in Judah. How much more than if we come to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? Then David inquired to the Lord yet again, and the Lord answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into your hand. Once again, showing that when we get on the right side of our power, man, we are unstoppable. Okay? And it says, So David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their cattle, and there smote them with a great slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah, and came past to Gabar-yah-ahla, the son of Amalek. And it says, yeah, that was the point right there. So David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their cattle, and smote them with a great slaughter. David and his mighty men smote them with a great slaughter. Okay? Now I want to get the account. If you got anything, let me look this up.
Isaiah 34. Had a bit more in 16. Seek ye out the book of the Lord and read. None shall want her. None of these shall fail. None shall want her mates. For my mouth they have commanded, and his spirit they have gathered them. How the Lord is going to gather us, and he hath cast the lots for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever. Going into us in the kingdom basically forever. All the territories. From generation to generation shall they dwell therein.
That's right.
Because after each other. And then the heathens were crept into it, and then the Lord used the heathens as they got more wicked, the kings got more wicked. The Lord used the heathens to defeat Israel in the wars.
Time. Get this. 2 Samuel 23:8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had, the Techmanite, that sat in the seat of chief among the captains. Listen, these are our forefathers right here, okay? It's important to know this. As a matter of fact, this very chapter is where I got my son. I named my son after one of these men, one of the three mighty men, his middle name, okay? This is a very inspirational chapter, okay? We got to remember, as Israelite men, this is the lineage, this is the stock we come from, okay? It says, the Techmanite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains, the same was Adino, the Ezonite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. Think about it. 800 Philistine, uncircumcised Philistines. 800 Philistines, right? You got a spear, right? Think about it. This man slaughtered 800 men at one time. Psalms 82:6 says that we're gods, right? It says that we are gods in the Bible. This is an example of that godlike power. Just a small sample of that godlike power and ability that the Israelites got, man. You know, we've always had that. All right, and it says, and after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo the Ahoahite, one of the three mighty men with David when they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle, and the men of Israel were gone away. And it says, he arose and smote the Philistines until his hand was weary and his hand clave unto the sword, and the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. See, Eleazar, his sword was in his hand so tight, his hand cramped. His hand, what is that? What's it called? It seized up on his sword, and he couldn't let it go. He couldn't open his hand when the battle was done. That's how tight he was holding on to his sword. That's when it says his hand was weary. It doesn't mean he got tired and limp. No, it means his hand seized on his sword, right? It became an extension of his body, right? Keep reading, because this is good. And after him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Harahite, and the Philistines were gathered together into a troop, where was a piece of ground full of lentils, and the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. When I think about these men, and I think about what they're doing, talking about, oh, they slew Philistines. No, listen. These are hundreds of people fighting against one guy. Hundreds of Philistines, and you know Philistines are large, they're tall. Those are those 7-foot motherfuckers, man. And one Israelite is taking out 800, 600, 300, you know? You ever watch anime? You know them dope ass fight scenes they be giving sometimes? Think about it. You watch Naruto or like some shit like that. That's what we was doing, man. All that shit is about us, okay? All that shit is about the Israelite man. It says, but he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and he slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory. And the 3 of the 30, and the 3 of 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest time unto the cave of Adullam, and the troop of the Philistines pitched in the valley of Rebaim. And David was then in and hold in the garrison, and the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David longed, and he said, oh, that one would give me drink of water of Bethlehem, and of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. So David's thirsty, man. He wants to drink water, right? Okay, but the Philistines are in the way. Okay, so what they do, and it says, and the three, so it's only three of them, and the three mighty men break through the host of the Philistines and drew water out of the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. Nevertheless, he would not drink thereof, but poured it out unto the Lord. That's Jake is. The only people pouring out drinks to the Lord or to spirits is Jake, man. But think about how hard those verses are, man. 3 Israelites took out a whole army to get a cup of water, and then they brought it back. They brought it back to David, and what did he do? He even drank it. He poured it out on the ground. How many Philistines you think was in that host? That'd be a couple thousand. 1 Israelite took out 800, so that'd be at least a few thousand Philistines. Go ahead.
You don't have the Alexander the Great doing that, or
nope.
Julius Caesar doing that.
Nope. Show me an Edomite breaking through 800. Yeah, show me that. Where's that at? Where's the account? But we have historical, 100% true historical account of David's men being John Wick. And John Wick's fake too. We're the real John Wick. We descend from the real John Wicks. Okay? So once again, it took 3 Israelites to defeat a whole army to get a cup of water. And when the Lord returns and he gives his men spiritual power, because remember, I believe it was last week I said that what this really is, if you think about it spiritually, is we're in training to join an intergalactic elite force of military gods. We're basically joining the most elite army in the world. Okay? In the universe, really. You got to be a bad motherfucker to, like a Navy SEAL. You know how hard it is to be a Navy SEAL, training to be a Navy SEAL. And people think a Navy SEAL, that's like the elite, that's like the top soldier like you can be on the world. No. Being a man of the Lord is the top elite, most difficult position you can attain to, right? In the universe. Navy SEAL, what do they go to? Like buds? They call it buds, right? They go to buds. Buds is nothing compared to what the men of the Lord got to do. Okay? But the reward, though, when the Lord comes back and gives out his rewards, remember he said, behold, I come quickly and my reward is with me. That reward is us getting back our first estate, man. Being turned back into that. But if you got anything else, go ahead.
On the mighty man.
Yeah. I just wanted to read those first 3.
You got more on that?
Yeah, I can read more. Yeah. 2 Samuel 23, because they're all good. 2 Samuel 23 and 11. 12. And he stood in the midst of the ground and defended it, and he slew the Philistines, and the Lord wrought a great victory that day. And the three of the 30 chief went down and came to David in the harvest time and unto cave of Adullam. And the troop of I already read that. Let's go. And David poured out the cup of water to the Lord, and he said, "Be it far from me, O Lord Yahweh, that I should do this. Is not this the blood of the men that went in jeopardy of their lives? Therefore, he would not drink these things. Did these 3 mighty men?" So the reason why David refused to drink it is because he recognized that his men put their lives in jeopardy just to bring him a glass of water, man. Okay, so he said, I'm not going to drink that. I'm going to pour that out as a drink offering to the Lord, man. Okay, in recognition of what these mighty men have just wrought. Okay, keep reading. And he said, and Ashbai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah. These are the more mighty men that David had. Okay, the son of Zeruiah, the chief among the three, and he lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them, and had the name among three. Was he not most honorable of the three? Therefore he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not unto the first three. And Benaniah, the son of Joadiah, the son of Velamit, the son of valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. He slew two lion-like men of Moab. There goes Moab getting his ass whooped. Okay, he slew two lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of the pit in the time of snow. So that's like the dead of winter. When it's cold out, when your fingers hurt, you're standing out, your fingers hurt. And this dude's over here killing wild beasts. And the animals back then were bigger. A lion back then was probably bigger. A bear back then was bigger and stronger. This man's out here killing wild animals. He ain't had no gun either. He ain't had no carnal gun either. All right. It says, and he slew an Egyptian, a godly man, and the Egyptian had a spear in his hand. This is dope. But he went down to him with the staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. That's like some dope ass Bruce Lee shit, The Egyptian had a spear and he disarmed him, turned his spear on him, and killed him with it, man. Just many examples of the mighty men of the nation of Israel, man. This is why Esau needs us to stay down here. He needs us to continue sinning. He needs us to continue being ignorant of who we are, But that's all I got on that. That's all I wanted to read, really.
You got more on
Yeah, it's a long one. It's a lot of names. They got I'll read the names. Ashiel, Elon.
It's just a list of names now?
Yeah, now it's going down to names, all right?
Names.
Yep.
All right. Oh, you can stop there.
Yep, those were the mighty acts of the Israelites, man. All right?
You can imagine the ones that wasn't documented. Had to have some undocumented. And also Jonathan.
Many.
Jonathan, I believe he killed like 50. Just his armor bearers.
Right? And scriptures say David killed tens of thousands, man. Listen, we are a warrior class race, man. A warrior class race of men. Right? We're starting to gain that back. We're starting to gain that back, and Esau knows it. That's why he's so scared. That's why the devil's going to come down upon us having great wrath, because he knows Revelation 12:12. He knows that his time is short, man.
2 Corinthians 15:5. Behold, says the Lord, are being placed upon the road, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So that this is what the Lord is going to get ready to bring. All right, they're not going to be able to interrupt the judgment that the Lord is going to bring in that day. Sword, famine, death, destruction. One or three. These concentration camps, the martial law, the Russian soldiers, those foreign nationals coming out, unleashing out on y'all niggas, man. Okay, demons unleashing on these people out here. Bombs dropping here.
That's right. That's right. Bombs dropping. Chariots firing lasers. Don't forget about that. Chariots gonna be out here killing niggas, man.
Like kids starving. Kids getting dashed to pieces out here.
Kids getting eaten. People being eaten alive, man.
I got verse 15. For the sword in their destruction draws nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another. People, groups of people fighting each other, lower class against higher class. Niggas against crackers.
Yep.
And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power.
That's right.
14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Woe means destruction. A lot of destruction and chaos is going to happen out here. Go watch the movie Bushwick. You know, and they explain it to you right there what exactly is going to come to pass. Okay, anarchy. You know, people just not the police not being able to do shit, man.
You ever seen that movie, The Road?
Yeah.
What happened to that woman on while she was out, and there was that gang. You know, I believe they killed her husband right in front of her. You know, and you know they had their way. They had their way, man. Okay, it's gonna be like that out here. It's gonna be the Wild West, the Wild Wild West. No rules.
Yeah, you ever seen a Wild West movie?
One of them gunslinger movies, man.
Them gunslinger movies. If they want to have a shootout, they're gonna have it right there.
That's right.
Then and there.
Right then and there. Hey, may the best man win. Hey, and people ain't gonna play fair either. There's gonna be no honor out here. People will come get you from the back, from the dark. They come around the corner, you know, stick you, run away. You know, people are gonna be doing all types of dastardly things out here. You know, that's why it's gonna be dangerous even to just step outside.
Yeah, the Civil War, homestead.
Yep.
Leave the world behind.
And people today, especially in the United States, in Babylon, people are armed more than they've ever been. People are more mentally disturbed and unstable than they've ever been, and people have more guns and bullets than they've ever had, ever. Everybody around here, you could have just assumed they got weapons on them. Everybody. So think about it. We just, what's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's what's probably like 100 people just right now in this corner. All of them probably got some type of 9mm, some type of AR, some type of, you know, some type of weapon on them. Almost everybody. Now imagine when these people get hungry and there's no food. People already don't like each other. They're already divided. You got Democrats and Republicans. You got white. You got black. You got Esau's starting to bring out that. He's starting to come back with that scientific racism again. You know, these people are stupid. They're fucking low. They're mentally. Their IQ isn't that high. You know, Jake don't even. It's not slave days anymore. Jake ain't gonna take that. Jake got guns too.
Close out with this.
Yep.
2 Ezra 16 and 31. Even so, in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. Why are they going to search their houses with the sword? Because the foods are going to be shut down. More Walmarts are going to close.
Yep.
More gas prices is going to rise. More things of everything is going to rise. 32. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old. But that's just going to be the beginning. Okay, the concentration camps are going to be coming. They're going to have to put y'all in martial law because war is going to pop off out of nowhere. Imagine right now if Russia was to drop a nuke right now in Babylon right now. That's what it's going to be.
That's right.
You're going to be hearing those purge sirens.
Don't forget about martial law. That's coming too. Trump just signed a bill in the office, you know, to give more power to the authorities, the law enforcement.
And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel there through. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The woman shall mourn, having no husband. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish in famine. Expect the famine to come.
Right.
McDonald's shutting down.
If you don't mind, I get one more. This is my last one. Jeremiah 15:1. Then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight, and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, such as for death to death, such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. And it will appoint, and I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord. That's the 4 kinds of judgments, man. All right. The sword to slay, the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. That is what's coming for you, all of you people out here, man. Jake, Esau, everybody. Okay? With that, we're going to close out. We give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching this truth according to the Bible. Shalom and Abba Babal.
Abba.